complete the mission. You're the only one left.
What is up, YouTube? I am Reckless, and today I am bringing you a Call of Duty Ghosts gameplay. It is on the map Behemoth, and I go 45 and 22, and I get 31 tags, so I am playing the objective in this game of Kill Confirmed. Don't worry, more people do join in just a moment. This actually winds up being a pretty competitive feeling game, and I don't normally say that about Ghosts gameplay, but the enemy team winds up being pretty decent. It winds up coming down to the wire at the very end, and when I say it comes down to the wire, I do mean it is a one tag game at the end. So I hope you all do enjoy the gameplay, but the reason I chose it was not because of how well I did or because of how the game played, but it's because of things that happened in the game, and we will get to that in just a moment. First, I wanted to say a few things. You will see me throw down the motion sensor, but you'll see that I'm not actually using it. I just want the patch that has the cat on it that says huh with a question mark. I think it looks neat, so all you have to do is just tag people with your motion sensor. So I'm trying to get that, but I'm not really using it like you're supposed to, because I actually hate the things. 99.9% of the time they are just a tool used by campers in conjunction with the IED to just further perpetuate this cycle of punishing rushers and ghosts. And I know that a lot of people feel the same way I do, so that's why I feel the need to put a disclaimer on there. I hope I don't offend anyone just by throwing one. Also, you will see me get quite a few deaths that were pretty avoidable, but there is a reason for it, and by the end of the commentary you will understand why. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, what I actually wanted to talk about today is being host on Call of Duty Ghosts. If you go back and watch my What Ghosts Got Right video, one of the major credits that I give Infinity Ward is I prefer the way they handle their lag compensation and hit detection in comparison to Treyarch. And when I made that video, that was true. But now the more I've played Ghosts, and after I've played some 1v1s, and after some crazy stuff I've seen happen online, I have drastically changed my opinion, and I don't know what is so different about Ghosts in comparison to Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3. I mean, there was some bad stuff that happened in there, but the stuff that happens in this game is completely unbelievable. But before I continue on about that, now that I've kind of explained what the video is going to be about, let me explain a little more in detail what is going on in this particular gameplay. I realized that I was host pretty early on in the game. You can kind of tell after about maybe a minute or so that I realized that I was host, and I basically just started trying to see what I could do and how big of an advantage it would have, because I planned on making this into a video. And what I found is honestly pretty ridiculous, and I'm pretty sure that you can see that at least a little bit already. I mean, that specialist kill streak I just went on was pretty crazy, especially if you go back and watch the whole thing knowing that I'm host now. And you've also seen me kill someone when they're all the way around the corner. What I decided to do was to see how many hipfire kills I could get and to see how big of a distance I could get them at. Throughout this gameplay, you'll see me get a few double kills and even a triple kill, all while just hip firing, and the enemy team was getting pretty frustrated with it. They knew that something was unfair, and I could hear them talking in the revenge voice. I think it's called the revenge voice. It's the time where you can hear the person you've killed for a few seconds, and they were raging extremely bad, and I don't blame them. Whenever I get killed from around the corner, or it feels like I get one-shotted, I get pretty upset as well. If these things happen to you, it's because of the way Call of Duty games handle lag compensation. If you're unfamiliar with what lag compensation is, it is extremely difficult to explain, so what I'm going to do is I will link a video in the description. If you're familiar with Drifter, he has an amazing video explaining in depth, get it, because his series is called In Depth, what lag compensation actually is. So if you're interested in learning a lot more about it, you can go and check that out. But for all intents and purposes, it is the way the Call of Duty engines handle differences in information between all of the consoles or PCs. Basically, there is always lag that is going to occur between consoles, and Call of Duty has a way of trying to make things mesh up the best way that they can so that everyone's Xbox seems like it's producing the exact same game, even though there are quite a few milliseconds differences between what you see and what is actually going on. That was an unbelievably simple explanation of what it is, so I highly recommend that if you are lost, please go check out Drifter's video. So the reason the host has an advantage is because whoever is hosting the game, everything is actually happening on their console, and everyone else's is basically having to play catch up. And I know I keep saying the word console, but this is happening on PC. It's happening on everything that doesn't run on a dedicated server. And even the games that do run on a dedicated server still have to deal with this same issue, but there is no host advantage because the host is actually the server, so no particular player has the quote-unquote host advantage. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they don't feel lag as bad in other games, and that's true. You don't feel it as much, but it is there. This happens on every game no matter what, even if it's on a dedicated server, it's just going to happen. But the reason you feel it so bad in Call of Duty is because the weapons have such a fast time to kill. So let's say that someone is playing on a slightly less than average connection and they are about 300 milliseconds behind what is actually going on in the real game. Some of the guns in Call of Duty can kill in that amount of time. So by the time the host peeks around the corner and shoots his gun and kills the person, the other person's console or PC is just now registering that you saw the person, so that's where you get the effect of being one-shotted. Now, in terms of Infinity Ward and Treyarch, and if you're unfamiliar, they are two different companies that both make Call of Duty. In recent years, Treyarch made World at War and the Black Ops series, and Infinity Ward made the Modern Warfare series and Call of Duty Ghosts. But anyway, they both have very different ways of handling this, and people vary differently on how they prefer their lag compensation to be handled. I honestly used to think I preferred Infinity Ward's way, but after this game, like I said, I have to lean towards Treyarch. This is where feeling kind of comes into it because no one really knows how these companies do their net coding or anything like that, but to me what it feels like is in Black Ops 2, they kind of spread the lag compensation around more and made everyone kind of feel it similarly, when in Ghosts it kind of seems like, yeah, everyone has a good hit detection, but whenever someone good gets on host, they are just unstoppable. Now, I will agree that you don't feel it as much in Ghosts because the likelihood of a really good player getting host isn't that likely because you're gonna have 12 people in the lobby and probably about 9 of them aren't gonna be great players, so you only have that small chance that someone amazing is going to be on host. But like I said, once that person does get on host, they can really do some major damage and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And like I said, this is just where personal preference comes in, but if you've watched some of my previous videos, then you know that I prefer things to be as fair as possible, and even though the chances are pretty small that someone really good will get on host, I still don't find it as fair as everyone kind of having a more equal opportunity to do well. Like I said, it does boil down to personal preference, and I know a lot of people don't follow professional Call of Duty and they don't care about what pros think or say, but let me just say something about that real quick. Almost everyone who plays this game professionally agrees that when you play this game online, it's a joke. Even when they're playing a tournament, they only count the win if they win when they're not the host. That right there should tell you a lot, and unfortunately we're going to have to continue to deal with this until Activision actually gets dedicated servers for Call of Duty. The best thing that could happen for Call of Duty is when Advanced Warfare's multiplayer is revealed, they also announce that they are going to have dedicated servers. But unfortunately, since the game is going to be released on the older consoles as well as the new ones, I'm honestly not quite sure if that's going to happen or not. Or maybe Sledgehammer will just have this amazing new netcode that will deal with lag compensation way differently. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway guys, that's the end of my rant. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which style do you prefer, Treyarch's or Infinity Ward's? While you're commenting, if you could also take the time to rate the video, that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. A like is always appreciated, but if not, as always, that's cool. And this has been Reckless, guys. If you can't take it easy, don't take it at all. Peace.
Hardpoint locked down. Hardpoint contested.